what I'm doing. Let's see here. Happy day, friends. It's me, Happy Murphy. Oh, and I am the Happy Humanist. Let us see. And I'm trying to go live here on the YouTube and on the Twitch. Well, would you look at that? It says I'm live. How fun. All right. Well, happy day, my friends. It's Happy Murphy's happy day. Today we're going to talk about emotions. We're going to talk a little bit about happiness, perhaps. And really, I'm just going to build some bricks and hang out. So if you all would like to talk about emotions, perhaps, where emotions come from, how we deal with emotions, what are emotions? So clearly I'm new. I don't know how to see the viewers. If anybody, I'm confident there's no one viewing right now. But how would I know? See, I think, yeah, I see it in the Twitch. All right, well, this seems to be doing something in YouTube. So hey, all right, good day, happy day. Let's build a Lego. What do you think? So for those of you that are just joining us in the home game, we have Birch Books here, and I've got the Lego Creator Library and Little House. So the Little House is what I am currently working on. And let's continue. Oh no, it says something went wrong with the YouTube. Try again. Hey, you know what? It says it's live now. It says the connection's good and there's no live viewers. Fantastic, which is fine. I often talk to myself anyway, so this is really no different. Now I'm just putting the words out into the universe. Dun, dun. Yeah, happy day. At. Whoa. Fun elements. Great. All right, what's up, friends? How you doing? What's going down? What's new? What's exciting in the world? World's in a crazy place right now, huh? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think there's an influx of happiness into the world right now? You got to admit it's getting better. It's getting better all the time, right? In so many respects. It is. And in so many respects, it has never been a better time to be alive. Unfortunately, it just really depends on where you're born in the world. And since none of us have any say in that, we are indeed thrust into the world. You wake up one day. It's weird, right? You remember that day? Like when you're looking in the mirror and you start having those thoughts of that meta sense of that you're a person in the world doing things and that you have a will and a volition and thoughts and ideas that are yours. It is is fun to watch my daughter starting to realize. I don't think she's quite there yet. I mean, she knows she's a human. She knows she's an individual and a person, but certainly still working on concept, the permanence of an injury or the permanence of death. Still working those things out. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about emotions today because I was listening to, I think it was Talk Heathen yesterday, and I think it was Talk Heathen. It might have been Atheist Experience, and one of the callers said, I think it was about free will, and said something about emotions, and basically said, otherwise we have no control over our emotions, is what they had said. Excuse me. Good times. I'm still very congested in my chest from my second shot. After I got my second COVID shot, like 3 days later, I did not feel so well. My chest got pretty tight and full. And, still got a little bit of that brain fog going on as well. Anyway, so one of the people on the show said, kind of flippantly, that I think it was that if we didn't have free will or if we don't have control, then we don't have control of our emotions. Then that would mean that we don't control our emotions. And my response to that was, yes, we don't control our emotions. At least for most people, they really don't control their emotions, and it takes years of training and self-discovery to be able to control one's emotions, because one's emotions are very much a sympathetic response, right? Our brains see the world, signals come in, and we have an instant reaction to those signals. And those reactions are not up to us, are they? Nope. Our response can be up to us, but the initial reaction that we have certainly is not up to us. We have emotions, right? We have inputs from the world, rather, that trigger a flood of neurochemistry, a flood of neurotransmitters that instantly affect things in our brains and in our bodies. And as an actor, I use this for knowledge to reproduce emotions. What is this? Oh, nope, skipped a bunch of stuff there. Don't do that. So, as an actor, I like to think of myself as a student of emotions, of not only a student of life and humans and human relationships, but also of emotions. And, how emotions are made in the body, how they are let go of, how they come about. Just a student of emotions. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in grad school was that there are no transformation, or excuse me, there are no transitions, there are only transformations. Meaning, emotionally, we do not transition slowly from one emotion to another. We instantly transform from one emotion to another. And we do, absolutely. If you've ever watched a child go from happy to sad, sad to happy, instantly, right? My daughter just the other day had a moment where she was very sad that her friends were not able to come out and play, or so she thought anyway, and she was literally freaking out, crying, having a meltdown, crying about this for 20 minutes. She was so, it broke our hearts. She was so sad that she couldn't see her friends. And in the middle of her crying, guess who came knocking on the door? No more sadness, no more crying, instant elation. And if that's the case, if she can do it, then so can we, which means we actually do have some control over our emotions. We just need to learn about our emotions, and our emotions are typically not something that I was ever taught about, and I've never actually heard of any course in school talking about emotions or emotional regulation. I know that, as an educator, I talk a lot about the social emotional learning and social emotional competencies. I mean, we're starting now to talk about these things, but when I was growing up, we certainly didn't talk about emotion, or the production of emotion and how we produce emotion, how we control emotion. And it is an invaluable life skill. So let's talk a little bit about it, right? Like what does it mean to even have an emotion? So we've got our brains sitting inside our heads, right? And our brains are surrounded, our bodies are surrounded by electromagnetic waves, which are pulsing through this cosmos. Gravity is pulling on all of our neurons as well. Nope, that doesn't look right. And our brains take all of that information and figure out what to do with it, right? And through evolution, we have come to have wonderful response systems, and wonderful systems, hot potato, right? That just takes care of things for us. So if we think back to the Sahara, or not the Sahara, the savannah, we think back to our predecessors living a life filled with predators, filled with folks who could eat them and want to eat them, looking for a meal. When those folks were startled by an animal, let's say they turn around a bush. I just sent a Lego fly in that direction. Well, it's got another one of those. It appears I do not. Pardon. Oh my gosh, I cannot find the Lego. It was a little tiny gray piece that flew. Oh my goodness. And we're looking for the Lego in the carpet, looking for the Lego, where'd it go? We're looking for the Lego, here I am, hello. I'm looking for a Lego, wish you were here to help me, 'cause I can't see it. Might be going into a shoe? Nope. Yep. This is the problem with having a multicolor carpet. All right, friends. It's time to get a light. Because there. All right. Down on the ground. Found it! Found it! See? I just needed to get on the level. There we go. Okay. That's the piece. It flung like a little football. All right. So now, obviously, I've totally forgotten what I was talking about with emotions, but maybe not. So when we are in the world, we've got electromagnetic waves, gravity, everything pulling down on us, going into our brains, going into our senses, enervating all of us, right? Our whole body gets enervated by all of these signals all the time. So what is to happen? How does our body manage that? Well, it filters a lot of that stuff out automatically for us, and it lets us know if things are, if it's a friend or a foe. So if we remember back to the savannah, we turn a bush and we come upon an animal. We need to know immediately, is that animal a friend or a foe? So our sympathetic nervous system will take over, and it will, there we go, cannot get this Lego right. It will instantly release some neurotransmitters. And those neurotransmitters will tell our bodies what to do in a number of ways. So we're going to have a neurotransmitter signals, boom, into our brain, into our eyes. Boom, I see a lion, right? Oh gosh, it is not a friend, it is a foe, and I need to go, right? So that signal hits our brain, and our brains know that we don't have time. It's hot potato, right? We don't have time to make decisions here. So instantly that brain releases neurotransmitters that affect things in our body physically. So it affects our heart rate, it affects our eyes, our blood pressure, dilation, it affects our posture, it affects our posture, our facial expression, and our breath, right? This is for an actor's purpose. This is what I talk about, our posture, facial expression, and breath, right? We don't breathe the same when we're super happy than when we're super scared. We don't stand the same when we're super happy, super scared, right? We don't have the same facial expression, do we? Nope. And people are very good at reading facial expressions, aren't we? Yes, we are. Because of that, those are the things that instantly change, right? We see a lion, boom, we instantly change to these things. Rather, these changes instantly happen in our body, and then our brain takes that information of what just happened and it assigns a value to it. It assigns an emotion. It decides how we now feel. So the emotion actually comes second, right? We get the input first, we get this, and then our brain says, okay, what does this mean? Oh, this means fear and scared. When I'm breathing like this, my heart, all of this means scared. I'm afraid. And that's where the emotion comes in. And it's the same thing for a happy, mad, sad, afraid, all of it, disgusted, vulnerable, all of those emotions. This physical thing happens first because we're physical creatures, right? We live in an electromagnetic, gravity-filled world. So the physical stuff happens first, and then we decide how we're feeling about it. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we actually do have a lot of power. You have so much more power over your emotions, my friends, than you may know that you have. Emotions, though they feel often that they can rule our world and that they are the be-all and end-all, that we are our emotions, right? We are not our emotions. And because we know how emotions are formed, because we know how emotions live in the body, and we know where they come from, we can use that to our advantage, right? We can use that to help make more happy people in the world, right? Which is not to say that we're going to see the world through rose-colored glasses or that we're not going to experience, the unpleasant emotions of life, because we will all experience the unpleasant emotions of life. Don't really have a choice when it comes to those. But we can use the knowledge of how emotions are made to then understand the patterns that are happening, right? When a friend upsets us and we get, when we get sad, when we cry, when we feel those feels, we don't have to linger in them. I know that oftentimes emotions can be sticky and things can just stick on us and we can linger with them and it's hard to shake them off. As an actor, I've played many a role that lingers with me. I'm sure there are some actors out there who are very good at letting things go after a performance, but I've been in far more dramatic roles than I have been in comedic roles, even though I'm pretty funny, obviously. But the dramatic roles, some of that shit's heavy, and it's just heavy. So you take it with you, you carry it with you sometimes, and there needs to be ways to get rid of it, right? To shake that stuff off. And wouldn't you know that Miss Taylor Swift is not far off when she says, shake it off, right? And we've heard that expression for years, right? Just shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Well, why have you thought about why we say that expression? Why do we say shake it off, right? What is that? Well, we're trying to interrupt the pattern, aren't we? And we're doing it intuitively without thinking about it. We know that it's hard to be mad, right? It's really hard to be angry if I'm doing this, right? You're literally changing your state because you're changing your movement, you're changing your body. But what are you changing? Well, you're changing your facial expression, you're changing your posture, you're changing your breath, you're changing the way you breathe, you're changing your blood flow, and all of those things are what your body then looks at to determine how you're feeling, right? It doesn't go this way, friends, it goes this way, right? We have the physical experience first, and then our body says, oh, what does that mean? How do I feel? Right? And if that's the case, that means that we can interrupt it. It means that we can intervene, right? We can circumvent right there. So we can take things, we can practice breathing, right? We can practice, that's what that is, changing our breath, facial expression, and posture when we are feeling emotions that are unpleasant, that we don't necessarily want to be feeling, or that, sometimes we have to feel emotions sometimes, right? It's not that we don't want to be feeling them. We have to go through things sometimes. But specifically for children who are very sticky when it comes to their emotions, right? Learning how and teaching them how to control their breath and their facial expression and their posture is an incredible life skill, and it's an incredible gift that you can give to them by talking to them about breath, facial expression, and posture, and then how you can literally shake it off. Now, yes, if there's terrible things that are happening, you're gonna have emotions that are in step with that, with the level to which life is hitting you hard. So it's not to say that if you're having an anxiety attack, I have anxiety. If you're having an anxiety attack, that you can just shake it off, right, and then be done with it. But it is to say that you have control, right? If you're having an anxiety attack, as I have, I can choose to breathe, be in the moment. I can choose to affect my posture. I can choose to have that string lift my head up and drop my shoulders and take deep breaths. I can recognize how that feels in my body. I can open my mouth and open the air and let it come into my body, right? So I can physically take steps. I can take steps to physically change how I'm feeling, because I can use my body, right? My body it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And often we feel like our bodies are not our own. Or that they just sometimes do things. Our brains just make thoughts. They just do things, and we're not in control. But we are in control, right? And you'll notice, the Buddhist monks and the contemplative religions and those folks, right? They've spent years mastering the breath, the signals that the body sends, and then how we respond to that signal, right? Because you can't stop the acetylcholine, if that's the one, right? I know it's one of you. Can't stop the serotonin, the dopamine. You can't stop those things. That happens, but you can adjust how your body then and how your brain responds to those things. So there is a pattern called the step out pattern that. There we go. That was developed by Susanna Block, who is a psychologist, acting researcher, more of a neuro. I don't know if she was a neuroscientist or psychologist, but more on that rather than a theater practitioner. But she really helped bring a great level of understanding to what's happening within actors as when we are producing emotions, right? Oftentimes when you're in a show and things are going wonderfully well, that's great, right? They're going great. You're going along. Things are fine. You don't necessarily need to reach into your toolbox, right? Acting is a craft. Theater can be an art. But acting is a craft. The lighting technician, that's a craft. The scene design, that's a craft. The craftsman, right? We're craftsmen. And because we are craftsmen, we have techniques, right? There's techniques that one can learn to make one better at their job as a craftsman, right? We teach our daughter painting techniques. She fancies herself a little artist, and we are wholly running with that and encouraging that. Of course we are. And we talk to her about techniques. That's what being a craftsman is about learning various techniques. So if acting is a craft and we are craftsmen, then there are various techniques that we can learn. Now, oftentimes, you don't need to reach into your toolbox. You don't need to go to your technique box, because oftentimes you can just paint, right? You know what you want to paint, you can go paint it, and you do. But oftentimes, you get to a stumble spot. You get to a spot where you're like, what am I doing here, right? Then we fall back on technique. We look to technique to help bolster up what we're doing, what we're showing. What's going on in there? 3, 4. So when it comes to acting, there's a couple different schools of thought in terms of how folks approach the emotional aspect of a scene, right? Do they find the emotion of the scene from the inside, from the character's objectives, from the character's wants and needs in this world? Do they find the emotional life there, or do they find the emotional life in the the physical life of the character, right? And the fact that this is even a school of thought, a school, right, an external, an outside-in approach to acting, tells us immediately, right, that we have control over this because there is an entire school of acting that is dedicated to the physical aspect and then producing the emotion, producing the emotional life, the vibrant, rich emotional life of a character through the exploration of the physical life of that character. And through that, the emotion comes, right? The needs, the wants, all of that stuff comes. So it's about which one works for you. And I think most of us actors will have both of them in our toolbox, right? We lean towards one. I lean from an inside-out approach. I'm definitely more of an analytical type. Can't get this Lego in place right here. But the physical approach absolutely informs characters. And the physical approach is how, when you are, let's say I'm stuck in a scene, let's take crying, for instance. Let's say that, we know that a character is supposed to cry in a scene, and you're trying to get there through the wants and the needs and the objectives, what the character wants and what they're not getting, right? Let's say you've tried that, and for whatever reason, there's a block and you just can't get there. If that's the case, we can reach into our toolbox and we can take a look at what's in there. We can take a look at some of the tools we have at our disposal. And some of those tools are, one of them is called Alba Emoting, and it is an outside-in approach to producing emotion through the manipulation of our breath, our facial expression, and our posture. And if we can control those things in certain ways, right? If we can reproduce what we do when we're crying physically, then guess what? The emotion will actually follow. Now, we will often talk about how that emotion will be perhaps untethered because it's not tied to the emotional life of the character and the wants and the needs and those things. It's just a physical emotion. So we always tie that back in. But we know that in the moment, I, the actor, can rely on my craft. I can rely on technique, and I can physically embody what is supposed to be happening in the character. And oftentimes I will find that it actually happens, right? I will find that, oh, there we go. Now I can actually feel it, and then the wants and the needs happen, and now I'm actually crying in the scene, and we're good to go, right? And again, these are, when we need to reach into the toolbox. We don't often have to reach into the toolbox. Sometimes you just know how to build the table, and you just go, right? But not all the time. So one of the techniques in an actor's toolbox for dealing with sticky emotions at the end of a show is called the step out. And the step out is a fantastically effective method for all of us. And we should all learn the step out because it is a wonderful interrupt between... I just cracked myself up there. An interrupt gesture. It's a lovely interrupt between our brains and our bodies. Right? We get locked into certain emotional patterns, certain emotional states, and we don't think about it. And our brain, we just keep going. Right? We keep breathing the way we're breathing. We're standing the way we're standing. And we're not changing any of those things. So our emotional state is unlikely to change as well. That's good there. So the step out pattern is very quick. It's quite simple, right? As I talked about, our emotional states are linked to a physical state. So when we're crying, we're going to be here, and our eyes are sad, have drooped down, right? The mouth slightly open. Our breathing, we're going to be right. This is not a happy position here, right? So the key to the step out is that we are going to inhabit a body position that does not trigger any emotional responses in our brain. Right? So we're going to start from a neutral body position, which most of us in life do not have or understand what a neutral body position is because it's not something we would ever explore. We just walk through life. That's what we do. We go. And through that life, we don't even notice when we've started to change how we walk, when we started to, our gait, our slouch, all of those things. We know that most people in life don't have proper posture. That's because most people in life inhabit one, quality, one emotion most of the time, and it forms to their body eventually over time. Just my thought on the process. But our step out pattern, then it is not related to any of these things, right? So we're going to take a pattern, we're going to assume a stance that is not related to an emotion, and the neutral body position will be that start. So if you think of a neutral body position as having, your feet just shoulder width apart, whatever's comfortable there, not far, not too close. You want to be balanced on your feet, of course, but then you want to place a string on the top of your head and have that string lift all the way up, lift it up, and that string lifts you up into, or the string lifts up into infinity, and it pulls your head up. When it pulls your head up, it makes your head rest up and over your spine, right? It's not here, it's right up and over. So now we're aligned. Our shoulders should drop down a little bit. We should be breathing from our diaphragm. We're not breathing up here, right? We're breathing from our bellies, right? Our Buddha belly, right down here is where we're breathing, right? That breath. So when we are in a neutral body position, we're going to take our hands. I'm just going to clasp them together like that, simple. And we're going to raise our hands over our head as we inhale in a 4 count, and we're going to lower our hands as we exhale on the 4 count. We're going to have a little pause in between the respiration there, the respiratory pause. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, inhaling the whole time. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And that is the step out. It is incredibly simple, as I say, but it is incredibly powerful. Often the most simple things in life are the most powerful. So that step out interrupting interrupting pattern is something that you should all have in your toolbox, in your emotional toolbox, of this life, because this life, is filled with emotions. We're emotional creatures, and because of that, we should know what they are. We should know how they form, how they're made, how to manage them, what to do with them when they get stuck, what to do with them when we can't stop crying, as happens, right? It happens to most of us. I know it happens with our child, and it just brings me such joy to watch her try to deal with frustration and to deal with disappointment and vulnerability by just stopping for a moment, and she doesn't quite do this yet, but she stops and she focuses on her breath, and that's great because she's 6. So it's a great first step to understanding that she's already getting this body awareness that nope, she is not a victim to her emotional state. It does not control her, right? We cannot control some of it. It happens automatically. Our sympathetic nervous system takes over and just does stuff. It's supposed to. It's there to protect us. But we also have the ability to then, override it. We have the ability to be present in the moment and let our brains know that we know how to control it, how to do it. So, great. Is that all I want to say about emotions today? Not sure. Is that my emotional rant for the day? So yeah, to sum it in summation, let's step out. You should all learn it, know it, live it, love it, and get aware of what is going on in your body and in your brain and how it works, and get to know it. It's amazing that some of the things we should be taught in school we're really not taught. Right? We're not taught rational thinking, and we're not taught about our emotional intelligence. I know they're starting to. I'm developing classes myself, specifically on emotional intelligence. So we are starting. Yes, we are. And I'm so happy about that. Because that's the key, right? We're stuck in this our whole lives, aren't we? This is it. This is what I got. And again, I didn't get to choose that. I didn't get to choose my my neurology, my neural atypicalness. Though, on that note, my friends, have any of you ever had a head injury? And if you were following Team Molly on Twitter and the passing of little Miss Molly, which was heartbreaking and devastating for so many folks. The It got me thinking though about my head injury, and about head injuries in general, and how just how fragile we are, how fragile our creation is, our being is. That this collection of atoms, this wholly unique one-time collection of atoms, is incredibly fragile. So I don't mess around, right? I go big or I go home. That's what I like to say, right? Go big or go home. The theater, right? We want you to make bold, big choices. As a director, I want you to bring bold visions and go big, and let me pull you back, right? But don't come with nothing. Don't come without choices. We need you to have a vision and bring what you want. And as a director, sorry, hold on. Oh no, I lost my train of thought now. Uh-oh, it's gone. That's all right. I definitely had some brain fog. Feeling better today, but definitely had some brain fog the last few days after that COVID shot. And Saturday sucked. Like 3 days, or no, not Saturday, Monday. Sucked. Saturday and Sunday were, but Saturday I thought I'd be out of the woods. On Monday I thought that like the 2 days would be it. Oh gosh, no, man. Monday was the absolute worst. I woke up Monday, felt like I had been hit by a truck. And if that would be the worst of it, that would be the worst of it. What was I just talking about? What was I just saying? About Team Molly, about the head injury. Yes. So I often wonder about my brain, if it would be different now if I hadn't flipped off my bicycle when I was 16 years old and smacked my brain on the ground real hard. So I was riding my bike to football summer camp with my best bud at the time, Mr. Jeff, which I hope you're all doing well. I hope you and your family, all of you, are wonderfully well and happy, my friend. If you ever happen to see this, you are a wonderful friend to have growing up. And he was going with me to school that day, to the first day of football summer camp, and we went over the curb, right? So I've got the curb, boop, right there. We'll say that's the curb, and I'm coming this way. And when the bike goes over the curb like this, so you lift up the front wheel. Whoop, lift up the front wheel so you can land on both wheels at the same time because you're awesome. Yeah. When I lifted up that front wheel, guess what happened? You got it. The front wheel went and rolled away. Came off the bike. Obviously, I did not know this. And the bike fork hit the ground and went, and I went, wow! And I whiplashed my head. I headbanged the ground. Real hard. Of course, this is the days before helmets. And I don't remember when the first time I saw a helmet was. Is that right? That can't be right. Something's wrong. But when there we go. When I hit that helmet, or when I hit the ground, I hit the brake on my bike as well. So I split my lip open right here. There's a big scar right there. Split that open. I got a scar right here on my chin, a scar right here on my nose, and then I broke my right orbital right here. So, and I was in the hospital obviously for a few days with that one, and I often wonder if my brain would be different today if I hadn't have taken that spill. I can confidently say the answer is yes. It was a hit. It was hard. I was in the hospital for a little bit, and not unconscious for most of it, but semi-conscious for most of it. And I just remember being in pain. I remember writhing in pain because I had a headache to a degree that I had never had before. I don't typically get headaches still today. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful and blessed that I don't have Headaches are not something that I routinely get. I've had some friends who have had migraines, and just not even migraines, just lots of headaches. That they get headaches. And that day was the absolute worst. I remember it pounded so bad. So yeah, I can confidently say that spill definitely had a little bit to do with my brain. I mean, I was already a strange one before that. Let's not slow down, Joshua. Who's out there in the world? Who's out there in the world? Is there anybody out there? I am trying to figure out how to perhaps change. Like what? Like where do I show up? My YouTube channel is what I'm referring to right now. Just wondering, when I look up like YouTube Live, can add some keywords. No idea. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. I hope you are all finding ways to inject some happiness into your life and into the lives of others. The world needs a little more happiness. How does one get found? Like, so I'm looking for myself right now on the YouTube, out there on the internets. So I'm looking on the I'm looking for filtering by live, trying to see if the happy humanist pops up. And I don't see it. I see Capturing Christianity is live right now with 133 people watching. Fantastic. Talk to that guy. I'm interested in happiness and everyone's perspective on it and how they find happiness. I'm interested in how people find happiness in religion. Because I just don't understand it. I understand that people grow up in it and that's what they know. So that's what they do. But I still don't understand it on how believing in magic leads to happiness in the world. I'm believing that there's another life beyond this life will lead to happiness in this life. When we're here and now with other people in the world, people who need help right now, people who are here in front of me. So I still don't understand how religion maximizes happiness in the world. I know it brings people together and it brings communities. I understand that, and it helps us get past the problem of kin. The problem of how we take care of folks who are not our blood relatives. That was a big problem. It was an issue to overcome, right? Before, we're still trying to overcome it, right? We're still killing people who are others. We're still killing people who we think of as others. We're still not over the problem of kin. That if you're not my kin, that I can treat you as other, which just is a fancy way of saying I can kill you or dehumanize you and do whatever I want without feeling bad about it, because you're not actually a human. So, how do you find Happy Murphy? Where are you? All right, so there's 8 people here. Can I? Of course I can, I just don't know how to do it. So that's that. Where, I wonder. Y'all kids out there, do the youngins today appreciate the 50s music? Because I always found that a source of joy as a kid. It was so different from rock music, and it was so not pure, but just pure, and so kid friendly, and so yeah, just so polite. But it was musical and it was vocal, right? It was vocal based, which I appreciate now as I'm talking about it in this moment. I'm realizing I think that's perhaps why I appreciate it, because it was so vocal based, because they didn't have the instruments yet, to do what to do what we do today. They didn't have the technology, so they had voices. So it was so much harmony and how do I share my Twitch feed? Found it in the YouTube. That was easy. It's a little. Deniken. One of my favorite roles I've ever had to play was Todd in Unnecessary Farce. Todd is a Scottish hitman who would get dressed into his full setup, full garb, for when he would go do hits, when he would go do the killings, right? He just loved killing, but he loved to get dressed up in the sparan, the whole thing, right? The kilt, the hat, the bagpipes. He would literally play the bagpipes, which means what? Well, that means that I got to get a costume that was just wonderful, and I got a costume that was me and bagpipes and a sparan. It was really great. Let me see. I will find it for you. All right. Let's see. I just do this. There it is. I think there it is, friends. So that's me as Todd, the hitman, uh, dressed, ready to go. Such a good time. Um, so when Todd would talk before the assassination, he would become unintelligible in his brogue. And Deniken is one of the things he would say for I don't know. Deniken. Yabane has Yabanelin. Yabanehen. That was a really fun show. That was a really fun role. It was really, yeah, good times. Eek. Oh, what am I seeing here? Excellent. Yep, that is confusing, my friends. On the Twitter sphere here, I just saw that stock market crashes trend in, and I was like, oh, no joy. But apparently not, so. This is a wonderful Lego piece I'm making right here. It is a staircase. Do 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 do. Come on by, say hi. Come on by and say hi. Okay. What up, peeps? How's it going out there? How's it going in the world where you are? Healthy and happy? I sure hope so. Come on by, say hi. Where? Got it. That's pretty cool. It's a neat piece. Happy day, friends. How's it going in the world? I hope you're happy like me. And if you're not, let's talk about it. Because, practical strategies for happiness. That's what I'm all about. Do, 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 do. Who's out there in the world? Say hi. Come help me find this Lego that I can't find. There we go. Do, 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 do. $11:20. What's going on today? What are you doing? I am building some Legos right now, and then I'm going to pick up my daughter later. I have a home inspection happening today. I wear many, many hats. I'm mostly a theater educator, an actor, but I also sell real estate. I'm in sales. Most people who get into theater don't do it for the money. So we often look for other ways to supplement that income. And one of the ways I do that is with real estate. Very part-time. But I got another deal. So we got a deal yesterday. The inspection is today. And we will see how that goes. It's for an investor. Well, that can't be right. These need to be level, I believe. Maybe not. All right. So this is really all I have going on today. I have that inspection later. Pick up the daughter here in a few hours. But I get to spend right now with you all. Being happy and being present in the moment. Well, that's highly satisfying. For those of you playing the home game and you've just joined us, this is what we're working on right now. The Lego Creator Birch books. And I had a rant earlier about, it was a happy rant, don't worry. I'm the happy humanist. It's always a happy rant. It was about emotions and about emotional control. And I talked about the step-out pattern as a way for us to gain control of our emotional responses. So I would love to know how you stay happy in this world, how we maintain happiness in the world, right now specifically in our pandemic-filled world. How have you maintained your happy? Drugs, mostly. Right before the pandemic hit, we were in Midsummer Night's Dream, and it was such an incredible show. It was so delightful and so funny. There are many shows that an actor will be in that when you're not on stage, sometimes you go back in the green room, and you're not necessarily in every moment of the show. You don't feel like you want to watch every moment of the show. But there are definitely other productions where you don't want to miss a minute. You don't want to miss anything because your friends are amazing and everyone is so talented. One more there? Yeah, I think so. And you don't want to miss it. So you sit off stage and you watch every moment. And that's how Midsummer Night's Dream was this go around. It was so incredibly funny and so incredibly fun. And I'm very thankful that that was the last thing we got to do before we went into the lockdown. I joked for 6 months, can't we just go back to the Forest of Arden? Please, please. Alas, we cannot. Yeah, there. Do y'all like Shakespeare? When I say the word Shakespeare, is that a scary word for you? For so many people, it is. But it need not be. It's all about the approach. That's just true for most everything in life, isn't it? Specifically when it comes to our factory model education, right? Where we pump kids out of a factory. That's exactly what it was modeled after too, right? Our education system was modeled after a factory. That's why the kids were arranged in rows. That's why the foreman sits at the front and tells you what to do, and you do it. Just like you're on a line at a factory, right? We needed to churn out educated workers, semi-educated workers anyway, and this was the best way to do it, right? We could set up an assembly line and just shuffle them through. And we're still doing it today, right? It's part of the reason our education system sucks today, is that perhaps it's not the most efficient way to be doing things, right? We can do better. Hopefully we're starting to learn that we can, in fact, do better. There's that brain fog again. Yes, for those of you just joining us playing the home game, I've had my second microchip shot inserted, my COVID shot. It was wonderful. Very thankful and glad that I was able to get that as an educator here in Arizona. It's definitely helped to relieve some of the anxiety I was feeling for so many, many months. Did y'all look at the air differently? I vividly recall it when it was last March, right after we left the Forest of Arden, right after everything shut down, and things had been happening, but things shut down, and I remember walking from my car to the tree, and thinking to myself, I was looking at the air. I started looking at the air in a way that I had never looked at it before. In that it contained pathogens, that the air itself could kill me. And it was a very strange feeling. And I will not soon forget it, I don't think. It was weird. As I was walking towards this tree, which, by the way, the tree that I was walking towards, when I had this, oh, you got the air, kill me, it's weird. The tree, yesterday, this is a very large tree outside. I live in a condo in it's a fourplex. They're all single stories here in Arizona, a little easier to keep cool, especially back when they were built without the technologies that we have today, right? We have much better insulation today and much better efficiency today. So keeping two-story homes cool isn't as big of a problem now as it was. Still costs. But that day yesterday was a very windy day. Over there, and that tree outside, I had to go knock on my neighbor's door. You gotta come look at this. I know there's nothing either of us can do, and I'm sorry to burden you with the knowledge that perhaps a tree might fall on part of your house today, because that tree was just straight up moving. It was like, and we could see See, there's a little line now on the outside of the tree that has fallen in. There's a hole that wasn't there before. Right? I mean, every time that tree rocked, right, little bits of gravel would fall underneath that little rock, so it just kept getting more and more and more lean. Yep. Hopefully they will come and take that tree away where it needs to go. Is that right? It doesn't sit on anything. So it goes. All right. What are we making here? We're making a table. Oh, happy day. Oh man, my voce too, my voice over these past, I don't know, like 2 weeks or so. Both my wife and I had, both of our voices have been very gravelly and very, yeah, made us wonder if perhaps we had got the COVID. Keep expecting it to get better. But it is still, yeah, my upper register, right? We try to sing Hamilton as we do, and all those upper notes. Good luck. Does my chat work? I don't even know. If someone puts something in the chat, then I would know. I'm guessing it'll just pop up. All right, let's make some stairs. What do you say? I say yay. You say nay. I say yay. What do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about Shakespeare? What? How does Shakespeare help us to be happy? Because he reminds us what it is to be human. And that it is a messy, complicated affair to be a human. We wake up one day, we find ourselves here, thrust into the world, not of our choosing. We meet people that we didn't get to choose. For so many of us, those people are not necessarily qualified to be parents. Not saying that I am. But I definitely know that I have a lot more love in my heart than some folks, based on what I've read in the news on what some people do to the tiniest of folks among us. Where are you going? 3, 4, 5. There we go. We'll go with it. I think that's right. Yeah. So Shakespeare was one of the first authors, the Elizabethan authors, that started to move away from, and did move away from stock characters, from one-dimensional characters who were meant to be more of a caricature of a human than an actual human. So they had, the fool, the wise old man, the soldier, the judge, the justice, the young lovers, kitchen servants, all these stock characters that had stock, that had a whole set of stock characteristics that went along with it. If, pardon me, Lego fly. So we start to see finally characters that are more than simple caricatures of what a human being is. We start to see characters that have depth, that have actual emotional lives and emotional wants and needs. Did you mess up, Lego? Did you mess up? Oh, I think Lego messed up. I mean, it's obviously possible that I messed up, but I don't have many pieces left. And these two pieces I have, and it calls for this brown, but I have this brown. So it goes. Not a big deal. But before the Elizabethan theater and in France and in Italy as well, you had roving troops that would go around and perform often passion plays about religion, trying to spread their religion. See, nope, not Lego. It was me. It was happy making mistakes here. And in Elizabethan time, we finally get to see characters that are like us. We finally get to see characters that have emotional life to them, that are not simply stock characters, right? When you have a stock character, the good thing about it and the bad thing about it is that when you go to the theater, you know what to expect, right? Which creates a sense of community because you know that the audience can play along. They know what's going to happen. They have an expectation. And you can, it's a garden. Sorry, this is a garden right here. I love it. Man, flipping Lego. You're just awesome. This pumpkin, get out of here. Shut your mouth, Lego. Stupidly awesome. So we finally get characters that are beyond a one-dimensional caricature of a human being. We get, Lady Macbeth. We get Macbeth, the greatest love story ever told. These two people who love each other more than anything, and will do whatever it takes to hold on to that love, and go forward. And we get all of these wonderful female characters that have strong opinions, that will make their will known in the world. Here, like a doggy door. Yeah, it's a weird little door right there. It's for the coal. That's where the coal chute is. Oh, I grew up in Chicagoland at my grandma's house. Had a coal chute. One of those big ass furnaces that you see in the movies, right, from Home Alone. That type of furnace, which was shot in Chicago, so it was probably the same type of furnace. Yep. And yeah, that did. It scared just like Kevin McAllister. That the staircase to get down to her basement was, I don't know, 87 degrees, just whoop. That was always part of the fear too, is that the staircase was so vertical that it felt like it could just not be there any second. Like you could go down, the furnace could, and then the door shuts, you're done, right? The staircase is gone, boom. Now you're the people under the stairs. That's your life now. Happy day. All right, on to part two. So part of that, the love of Shakespeare that I have is that he created lovely six and six. Part in here. Loud noises. Loud noises. Great. So, Shakespeare. Part of what made him Shakespeare and the other authors is that they took a different look finally at what it meant to tell a story, to spin a narrative, and how we would do that, and what it meant to have actual wants and needs, right? Society was growing rapidly, 200,000 people in London, and which, a gathering of the likes of which the world had never seen. the influx of minds, right? And it's not like it's not like today, right? Theater was community property back then. The characters were community property, scripts were community property. If you've never looked up bad editions of Shakespeare, look them up. Because what would happen is people would go to the theater, and then they would go back to their town. They'd go to London, see a show, and then go back to their town and want to recreate it, right? Community theater. And they would do it from memory, so they would write down, and they would get it wrong. They would get it very, very wrong. And so there are some very fun editions of some really bad speeches. To be or not to be, just butchered. But it's fun because it's someone's memory, right? Somebody went to the show, saw this, and then went home and tried to write it down. And that note has survived until this day. So we know someone's take on Shakespeare from way back in the day. They went to see a show, went home, wrote it down, and it survived, which is amazing. That we can see right into the past. Where is this piece? So, Mr. Lego. Monsieur Lego. It appears to me, Monsieur Lego, that you have yet again perhaps making a mistake. But as we saw before, the mistake was mine. So I do not think so. But the piece I need is that white piece right there that my thumb's on. Well, that doesn't look right. Because it is also there. All right, well. I know not. That's all right. Just going to pour it out and we'll keep going. Because clearly there's a bag 6 here, so now I'm wondering if I messed this up. Let's see. Nope. See? Okay, she's in bag 6 too. So it goes. All right. And then, you want to keep talking Shakespeare? Because I want to keep talking Shakespeare. So, let's talk about the theater. The theater in 1600 London. First off, who went to it? Everybody. Like, everybody went to the theater. 200,000 people in London, and it was, it's like 40% of the people in the year went to the theater. It might be 60%. A huge number of people. If that number of people today went to the theater, we'd have hundreds of millions of people seeing theater shows all the time, which would be wonderful. Because if you've never seen good theater, well, you should. So you got Shakespeare and the boys come along, and undoubtedly there were some girls in there as well, and they start writing real shows, real characters, right? But where are these shows performed? Where do you go see a show when you're in 1600 London? I mean, what kind of life do you have in 1600 London, right? That's a hard time to be alive. You don't even have Tylenol. You get a sliver, dead. Toothache, dead, right? That's not even hyperbole. Your teeth killed people, right? Teeth are deadly. So, this hard life, and yet people would take a break out of their day to go to the show, to go see theater. And when did theater happen? 2 o'clock, right? So they took a time out of their working day. They were working. That's what people did, right? They worked, they went to bed, they worked. Different concept of time, too. They typically slept twice during the day. You had second sleep. which was totally normal because it was a different concept of time. They didn't have clocks like we have today. That watches, the concept of a unity of time. It was sunrise, sunset. You wake up, you do some work, you go back to bed. When you're tired, you wake up, you do more work. And yet these folks would take time off from what would need to be important work, because we're talking about feeding people back then, making your way in the world. Otherwise, you're going to starve. Is that correct? Yeah. And so, what am I looking at? Oh, that. Okay. So you take time out of your busy day where you're trying to make enough money to buy food so that you can eat, to sell your wares, craft whatever it is you're trying to craft, and yet you go to the theater. That's amazing. And why would they do that? Why would they take time out of their day to go to the theater? And they wouldn't go see a show. It's another misnomer that people think. They think, that when you went to theater back in the day, just like today, you went to see a show. You went to the theater to see a show. And that's because that's what we do today. Today, we go to see a show. Today, we watch Netflix. I watch the television. We go watch a movie. But in 1599, in fact, you did not. You went to hear a play. You went to hear Hamlet. You went to hear. And that is why today we call the folks who are spectators at an event, we call them an audience. We don't call them a visualence. We call them an audience because it refers to our ears and audio, because that's what people went to do. You went to the show to hear a play. It was an auditory experience. And because language back then was far more, not important, but fluid and tangible than it is today. Today we are surrounded by the written word. Today we are surrounded by books. We are surrounded by words everywhere. And every time we see a word, that immediately constrains our thinking in our brain. It immediately puts our brain into a box because we see the word, we know what it means, we have a definition for that word, and that's that, right? So if I say the word soul, what am I talking about? What am I talking about? Soul. When you hear the word, two things come to mind, right? You're not constrained. Your brain doesn't immediately get locked into one pattern of thought, does it? Soul. What's he talking about? It hath the worser soul, right? It has the worse soul. It has a worser soul. What am I talking about? Do you know? If I were to say that something has a bad soul, do you know what I'm talking about yet? Just with that information that it has a bad soul? Nope, you sure don't. Some of you might be thinking of the thought about a human soul. Some of you might be thinking about, though, the soul of a shoe, right? And that is the fun, the pun of Shakespeare that we just don't pick up on anymore because we are taught to read Shakespeare first off, which is the biggest mistake that we make when we go to teach it and present it to kids, is that we present it as a literary form, as a book, as poetry, which it is. But poetry is also not meant to be read. It's meant to be heard. It's meant to be spoken. And so when I to keep playing off of the soul analogy, when Launce in Two Gentlemen of Verona says it hath the worser soul, and to start the monologue, he says, I'll show you the manner of it. And show, spelled S-H-E-W, both heard and seen. Even if you look at it, you're not quite sure what is he talking about, a shoe or showing? Is he going to show it to the audience or a shoe? It's both. It's a monologue. He's going to talk to the audience and show the audience, but it's also a monologue that deals with shoes. It uses the shoes in the monologue. But when we're in the theater and we watch it, we hear it, our brains aren't constrained, and our brains can go with the actor wherever they want to go, wherever it wants to take us. And when we read the words on the page, when we read, it hath a worth or soul, or it hath a worth or soul, our brains immediately get locked in, and we lose the wordplay. We lose the imagery. We lose the fun, the pun of that moment, because our brains want to find the pattern, right? They're pattern-seeking machines. So they will take that and they'll say, boom, that's the thing. That's what it is. We're talking about the sole of a shoe. Not really, though. He's talking about both of them at the same time. All right. I think I got that there. Oh, what has changed? I see nothing. This. All right, so you go to hear a Hamlet at 2 o'clock, and so what does that mean? Who else is there when you go to hear Hamlet? Right. Well, we're continuing that theatrical tradition of community. You're not there alone. You're there with other people. I mean, who else are you there with? Oh my! Have you looked up to the upper deck there, to the box seats? Who's up there? Oh, it's Lord Henry and Lady Anne, right? The lords and the ladies. So you could be sharing air now with the lords and the ladies. We're sharing air with the commoners. And it's actually creating a binding effect that will bind them together through time. They're not even aware of. That it will help to divide or help to erase some of those divisions and those lines. I mean, it still kind of cracks me up that England holds on to that king and queen, huh? Still does make me chuckle that they haven't said, I'm sorry. No more of that, my lord, no more. We're going to take all our land back now. Alas, they have not. They love their kings and queens. And, but that harkens back to that tradition, right? Where the king and queen, what am I missing here? Where the king and queen were, there we go, becoming part of, loosely, the same community as the commoners, because they're starting to experience and watch the same things. It's no longer just for them, right? Suddenly we can all watch the same thing. Suddenly we're all seeing it. Yeah, we're all watching the same Netflix shows, aren't we? Right? The leaders of the free world, the leaders of the bad worlds, the commoners, the low. We're all watching the same stuff, right? The TV shows are the TV shows. Yes, there's a lot to choose from, but at least we're all choosing them and we're all watching them. So there is common overlap. We can have a common language or common parlance between us on what we're talking about, and start to develop a common language and realize that maybe we're not all so different. And then the authors take it one step further. Not only are we now gathered in this space where we can be together and share air and breathe together, but now we are also, this? Yeah. Now we are also able to explore and talk about what it means to be human. And what we're going to find is what? Well, we're going to find that, wouldn't you know, the lords and the ladies and the kings and the queens and the commoners, turns out they're not so different, emotionally speaking. Turns out they have a lot of the same wants and needs and fears in life. Turns out they all just want the best for their children. Yep. Turns out they all just want to survive another day. Turns out most of them don't want to see other people in pain, but they aren't exactly sure yet what they can do in this world. And we start to create a common humanity. And through the stories that are now going to be told, we will build upon that common humanity. And we will start to explore what it means to be human, the good and the bad. We will explore what it means to be Iago, what it means to just want to cause pain in the world, right? Because do we know those people? Sadly, yeah. There are some people in the world who just aren't born with the genetic lottery of empathy, and in fact can't control the impulse, and then do want to go commit harm in the world for no other purpose than to wreak havoc in the world, right? And we have a character like that in Shakespeare to look to, right? We have characters to look to when we are conflicted about choices, when we're conflicted about love, when we're conflicted about all of the things that it means to be a human in the world. It's amazing how much of that stuff just Hasn't really changed. Right? We're still eating, still need food, we still need to breathe, we still have babies, we still have pain, we still have loss. You know, in the end, everything you love goes away, or you go first. And how do we live with that? How do we live with that knowledge? And that is what the theatrical tradition that was born started to explore what it meant to actually be a human being. Now, of course, it was a very presentational style. They did not go for verisimilitude. They did not go for the representation of life on stage as we do today, where we're seeking truth and having a real moment of connection with another human being. Nope. It was much more grand and presentational. Where too many Legos in this one, and it's too loud. If it's super annoying, let me know. By the way, if it's not, I don't know if it's annoying or not. All right. So going back to some Shakespeare. What I talked earlier about an actor's toolbox, and that we have in our toolbox, since we are craftspeople, that we have an actor's toolbox that has techniques in it that I can reach into my toolbox and grab a technique and use that when I come to a sticking point in a scene. And Shakespeare at the time, what it meant to be a Shakespearean actor is very, very different from what it means to be an actor today, even a Shakespearean actor today. The process was wholly different than what it is today, right? Completely different. Today we have a rehearsal process. Today we rehearse for, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, a year for Broadway, 2 years, workshops, before, the show goes on. And then they run it for however long they run it, and they put it away. Back then, it was not like that at all. So we have evidence from the Rose Theater that they put on, in 6 weeks, they put on 36 shows. It was a different show, 6 days of the week, a different show, every day for 6 weeks. So 6 weeks, 36 different shows. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know how you would possibly do that as an actor. When you think about that from today's perspective, it's, what? There's no way. That would certainly be a challenge if you were supposed to have all of that memorized. However, guess what? Back in the day, they did not necessarily have to have it all memorized. What? What do you mean, Happy? Well, what I mean is... what I mean is that. So that's a cue script. So that's a cue script, and this is what actors used to carry back in the day. This is what you would get as an actor. Today we get the script, right? We get the whole script. I get to read the script. I know the script. I have the script. Well, $15.99. Yeah, they had a printing press, but it was still 100 years old. It was new. It was expensive. It was not something common yet, right? We were not just printing books. They were printing Bibles, right? And because of that, the theater practitioners were not printing scripts, right? It's just not what you did. You wrote it out, right? If you wanted to be a playwright, you want to talk about a craft, right? You need tools for your craft. As a craftsman, you need tools. A painter needs brushes. A plumber needs wrenches. And a playwright back in the day, an author back in the day, would need what? They would need a quill. Where do you get a quill? What is a quill? Well, a quill is a feather, right? It's the feather from, a goose, a big bird. Do birds like it when you pluck their feathers out? No. Have you been chased by a goose? I have. I grew up in the Midwest in Illinois. And yeah, the goose are mean. And they will chase you. They do not like, They have points of view, and their points of view will be made known. So you had to go get your quill. You had to go get your tool. I'm saying get right there. That's my Chicago accent. Get, G-I-T. No. The word is get, G-E-T. So you would go get. Is that right? no, sorry. You would get a scroll. So you would get a cue script. And what you would get is not the whole play. You don't need the whole play, right? If we think again about the analogy that they went to hear a play, that they went to hear Hamlet, and that it was much more akin to how we go to a symphony today. When we go to the symphony orchestra, or when we go to music hall, do we expect that the violin player will have the tuba music? Do we expect that the timpani player will have the trombone music? No. Why would they? Do they need it? No, right? No, they don't. There are notations in the music. There are symbols. There are things we have decided upon, a way to read music that if I know how to read music and you know how to read music, we can come together and I don't need to know your part, you don't need to know my part, and yet we can both start playing at the same time, and based on the cues within the script, based on the music notes, and based on this chosen convention, we can suddenly make beautiful music. And that is no different. So the cue script is the music. It is the music, and it is individual to the actor, right? You don't need everybody's words. You just need to know what you say, and you need to know when to say it. And if that's the case, all you need is your line and a bit of the cue line. That's it. Yep, and then together you can make beautiful music. In the script itself, the Elizabethan authors and Jacobean authors gave us all that we actors need to know how to perform. All the stuff is in there, right? They knew that we would be performing where? Well, outside the gates of London, right? We performed across the river, we performed across the Thames, where the red light district was, where the, hold on here, getting ahead of myself. Where am I going here? There. Where all of the nasty trades were. It was not uncivilized in London. If you were going to be slaughtering animals and making smelly soaps and smelly chemicals and tanning leather and doing the bawdry work, then you should probably be outside the gates, right? You should probably be outside the city. And that is where the theaters were as well, because then the laws did not apply, right, outside the city. The laws of the city of London did not apply. Fantastic. So that is where a lot of trades set up shop. And when they did, that just meant that now you were performing Hamlet right next door to a leather maker. So the chemicals and the smell was pungent. The smell of dead animal was pungent. The sound of slaughter of dead animals was pungent, or auditorily pungent, I should say. And that smell. So the environment in which these people were performing, and the environment in which one went to hear a show, quite different than from what we expect today when we go to see a show, right? Be quiet. Don't open your candy. Don't open your candy. If you have candy, open it before intermission. Gosh darn it. I love that people open their candy slow, as if we can't hear. And sometimes we can't. But oftentimes we can. And that's fine. Oh my God, where's this going here? Is this a daybed? Is that what I'm seeing here? So inside the script, inside that cue script there, you will learn where to go and when to go and how to do and where to do, right? Just like the notes on a musical score tell you when to rest, when to go, how long to hold a note, all of the things. It's right there in the script, which is one of the great travesties when we look at modern editions of Shakespeare and modern editors, that they change things that should not be changed. They change punctuation that should not be changed because they just decide that, well, he didn't mean to have a comma there. Well, what if a comma means something very specifically when compared to a semicolon or a colon, right? What if that actually means something for the actor? What if it's a cue for me? Then please don't change it. As well, capital letters, some of the spelling of the words that they love to change. I'm all for bringing some of the language, modern spelling, but some of the spellings definitely don't need to be tweaked the way they are, because it adds flavor to how you're supposed to be saying it, right? It's a musical score. So all of the things I need are in the score. So when I look at what Shakespeare chose to capitalize, that means something. He's telling me to highlight that word in some way, to note that word, to do something with the word. When he spells words, the word bee with two E's, and I'm not referring to the insect, I should probably linger on that second E, right? E. To be or not to be, right? To be or not to be. So we should pay mind to these things. And when we do, a whole different way. Hold on there, what's this? Going too fast here. Got it. Okay. A whole new way of interacting with the text opens up to us. So one of the words that throws kids all the time and that they don't like in Shakespeare is the word thou. Thou, thy, thine, thee, all of the words that we don't use today. The thou, thine, thee, all that. Any variation of that. Ye. They find it odd. It hits their ear funny. And yeah, sure, I agree. It does hit our ear funny. It's not a word that we typically hear today, right? But what if I were to tell you that, excuse me, I'm going to cough. That the word, when we are looking at the script, and we see the word thou, and we see the word you, that is a specific blocking direction. Blocking is the term in theater that tells an actor where to go and when to go. Where are you going on the stage? Where will you live on stage? And again, if this is a musical score, this should have all of that in there, right? The Elizabethan authors wanted their productions to be successful, so they would have given us all of the tools to make them so. So when I say the word thou, thee, thine, guess what that means? It's not a fun, weird word that Shakespeare chose to say thou instead of you. It means something, and what it means is it means that you're creating intimacy. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if I'm here on the stage and I say the word thou, I have to approach the other character. I have to be physically in their bubble now, right? If we have a bubble around us, I need to go in that bubble for thou, thy, thine. This is an intimate moment with someone. And likewise, when I say the word you, that's not haphazard. Excuse me, when I say the word you, it's a cross away. It's a move away. I have to create distance now. So if I am close to somebody and I say you, I am now moving away when I say you. So the script itself gives me, the actor, all of the clues that I need to know in order to perform the script. So when I teach Shakespeare, I use these, and I go out. We get people on their feet right away, saying the words and experiencing what it's like to not know the script, to just have your words, and to know that you're supposed to do this and this. There's certain rules, right? That's craft. There's technique. So what are those techniques? And what are those rules? That is what the first folio, it's called the first folio cue script technique, unrehearsed Shakespeare. And it makes Shakespeare immediately engaging, and for kids, it brings it to life in a way that it otherwise would not when they are introduced to Shakespeare's poetry, and they're just forced to read it, and they're not actually forced to get up and do it. And I should say the word encouraged as opposed to forced. But it becomes something totally different. Specifically, as a kid, the physical process of having a cue script on you, right? Being able to physically hold something is a security blanket. I know my lines are here, but it's a security blanket. New actors will often touch things on stage and anchor themselves to things on stage because it's more comfortable to be holding something than to not to be holding something. Than to be wholly vulnerable, right? If you're open and just totally vulnerable, it's just you on stage breathing with people looking at you. That's not something most people want to do, especially when the character is supposed to be feeling a vulnerable emotion. That adds to that. There we go. So having the cue script helps to be another level of security, a security blanket for them. And because it is rule-based and technique-based, when X happens, you do Y. It's an algorithm. You do this, when this, when this, when this. Because of that, and we are pattern-seeking machines, kids love that pattern, and they can grasp onto it very easily. Like, great, I do this now, I do that then, let's go. I have skipped over these pages right here. I've gone haphazardly across my Lego page. So now I keep noticing. Oh, I didn't do that yet. Oop, didn't do that yet. Oops, didn't do that yet. That's all right. We'll find it. All right. I think I'm caught up on this. Where I need to be. I don't know. All right. Next page. So what else? So I have performed many Shakespeare shows, the whole show. Sorry, I just got a text message from a client there. Many a Shakespeare show into the unrehearsed process, where we literally put on the whole show, just carrying this. And before the show, I don't know who's playing what role. I don't know, I don't know a lot because it's how it was. It was the original principles. We went in and we just, they went in and they did. You know your part, they know their part. Great, let's make music. And it is incredibly fulfilling process to be a part of. That is. Because when you are amongst, when you're amongst trained musicians, it's a lot of fun to make beautiful music. How are you doing out there, friends? Thanks for being here with me today. I appreciate you very much. Because I'll talk to myself. It's fine. But it's always better to talk to someone else. All right, I got about 15 minutes left here of my live stream. Live stream number 1 on YouTube. Done. Boom. Do I have a comment? How do I comment? Yeah, sorry. I perhaps see a comment on the YouTube page, but like not in the chat here. And I'm confused by that. I'm not sure if. Let's see. Got it. Okay. I think I know what happened. All right. We can deal with that later. So where might I be? If I were to look in Twitch, where might I find myself? I am not sure if I have things set up correctly, if people can find me, if they can't find me. Like, I don't know if the tags help at all. Like, ask me anything or acting, theater, psychology. I don't, no idea. There's a lot of stretching that happens on Twitch. If you're unfamiliar, it's very fascinating to me. Apparently, you can just stretch and people will watch you. And I'm using the word stretch very loosely. I don't see very active stretching. It's not very. It's not yogis. I use the word stretch very lightly there, loosely. It's interesting. Let's build the bar. Any questions on Shakespeare, life? Ask me anything, friends. How do I maintain my cheery disposition? Now's your chance to find out. Negative contemplation. What am I looking at there? That's what I'm looking at. Okay. Oh, let's see. I have doubled my viewership since yesterday, which is pretty amazing. Because it's like, 1 to 2. It's like a big deal. Like, I doubled the amount of people. And that's awesome. So I'm very proud of that achievement. Because if I keep doubling the amount of people that watch maybe me, then in like 28 days, the whole cosmos will be filled with happy people. So we can do it, right? Are you with me? Are you with me, people? Alrighty. Let's get this table done. And I think we can call it a day. because I do actually have some income-producing work that I do need to attend to. You know. That problem of income that some of us face in the world. Not all of us. That'd be flippin' nice, huh? But would it? Because what do we know? We know that being born rich with a trust fund does not ensure a happy life. And it does not ensure that you won the genetic lottery in terms of your outlook, your affect, pessimistic, optimistic. Yep. Just because you're born with a silver spoon, you might have won that one lottery. But yeah, all too often we see that is not the key. All right. Let's see. Great. Yep. All right, my friends. Much love to you all. I appreciate you being here more than you know. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Want to do it again tomorrow? What do you think? Like 10 to noon? 10 to noon, most days. That's my plan. So until then, much love. Be good. Bye, friends.